Hello everyone, I'm going to share my project which is about the fall of Manchester City's performance in the 2024 to 25 seasons. First, this is the table of contents, and let me make a brief introduction. Manchester City has been one of the most successful teams during the past few years in the Premier League. However, this year they are suffering from a significant decline of their performance. And during their hardest time, they only win one matches in 13 games, which is another kind of history-making record. So, as a City fans, I would like to see what are the key statistical differences between their performance in the previous successful seasons versus the struggling 2025 season, and also maybe try to find some possible reasons to explain this. And in this project, we will focus on the data of their performance in the Premier League over the past 3 seasons. First, we look at the most basic scoring performance. As you can see, they are scoring less goals this year, but there are more goals conceded. Another shocking data is that the goals led by error is more than the sum of the past 2 years. So from here, we might be able to say that they are not doing well in both offensive and defensive play this year. Then we look at the offensive data. Although the team is not making as much shots as last year, the number still ties with the 2023 season. However, when you look at the big chances made per game and passes per game, here you can see a gradually decreasing, and the passes is not as much as the last 2 years. So we might say that they are making less threats and they are not controlling the game as good as before. Then we move on to defensive data. Here, the tackles and interceptions made per game has no big difference. But when you look at the clearance, you can see they are making much more clearance this year. And clearance is the act of removing the ball from a dangerous area. So we might be able to conclude that the defense of the team is being threatened more often this year, and that's why there are more goals conceded. To explain the underperforming of the offensive play, we may look at their superstars' performance. I use a website to generate the comparisons of the key statistics of the star players. First is the striker. As you can see, there are less goals, less assists, and the rating, which rates the performance, the overall performance of the player on the field, is also decreasing. Then the midfielder, Kevin De Bruyne. Also, you can see that the rating dropped from 7.6 to 6.99 this year. Then the Phil Foden, who was the most valuable player last season in the Premier League. The rating also dropped a lot from 7.5 to 6.7 around. These might be able to explain the underperforming of their offensive playing. Then we move on to the defensive play. The biggest challenge they're facing is the massive injury. Here's a visualization of the periods of absence of the key players of the team. This is 2023 season, kind of healthy, and 2024 still not bad. But in this season, the defensive players are facing a massive injury, and this all happens together, so becomes a great challenge to their defensive play, and that's why they are underperforming this year. And also, one of the most important players in the team, the defensive midfielder Rodri, is absent for most of the games in the season. Well, then we move on to conclusion. So, as we compare the statistics, it shows that the city's attacking threat has declined this season compared to the previous years, and also the defense has faced greater pressure this year, and they become less dominant in the control of the game. The according reasons could be their core players are underperforming in the attacking field, and that's why the offensive threat has diminished considerably. Another reason is that the core lineup has struggled with massive injuries, especially a large-scale defensive injury crisis. And this is the limitation of this project. The first two is mainly about I'm only using some basic data, and this may not be able to spot some other important differences, but some higher level data may be too challenging for me. And also, I only focus on Manchester City, where other competitors could affect their performance also. And these are some reference. And that's all. Thank you for listening.